Ashton Gentry turned in one of the best performances of his young career. Slashing through defenders like they weren't even there, the running game was explosive. The offensive line stood tall. And despite losing Colton Miller to injury, they didn't give up a single sack. Every piece was in place for the Raiders to walk away with a decisive victory. And yet, somehow, someway, they collapsed. That's not just disappointing. That's embarrassing. And it's not like they lost to an AFC powerhouse, not the Chiefs, or the Bills, or the Ravens. This was against the Chicago Bears. Led by Caleb Williams, a rookie quarterback, still learning the speed of the NFL. A team with no business leaving Allegiant Stadium with a win somehow walked out with the sweetest gift of all. A 25-24 victory delivered by the Raiders' own mistakes. They should have won by 3 touchdowns. Instead, Raider Nation was left with another heartbreaking entry into the team's growing history of self-destruction. And the main culprit? Geno Smith. Patience is worn thin, and this game felt like the breaking point. For weeks, fans were told to give him time to let him settle, to trust the flashes of competence. But 3 interceptions later, patience is gone. Geno Smith is not the guy. Those turnovers weren't just unlucky bounces. They weren't just tipped passes. They were bad reads, forced throws into traffic, and decisions that outright doomed his team. 2 of those picks gave Caleb Williams short fields. And you can't hand a quarterback, even a rookie, those kinds of opportunities and expect to escape unharmed. The Bears turned them into points. Geno's recklessness cost the Raiders at least 10, maybe more. In a game decided by a single point, and the stat line tells its own ugly truth, 117 yards passing. In today's NFL, those numbers won't beat anyone. Combine that with multiple turnovers, and you don't just lose, you hand the game away. What makes it sting even more is that the offensive line actually did its job. They gave him time, kept him clean, opened up lanes for Gentry to gash the defense. This wasn't about being under siege. This wasn't about broken protection. This was about a quarterback who couldn't deliver. But Geno's meltdown was just one piece of a wider implosion. Special teams deserves its own chapter of shame. Jacob Bobbin Moyer, the long snapper, got exposed by the Bears. He's got a tell. A subtle ball twitched before the snap. Chicago figured it out and began timing their rush perfectly. The result: a blocked 54-yard field goal attempt by Daniel Carlson that sealed the Raiders' fate. Think about that for a moment. Despite Geno's 3 interceptions, despite all the miscues, the Raiders still had a chance to escape with a win. But their execution failed at the most basic level in one of football's simplest operations. That's the kind of detail that separates playoff teams from perennial losers. And then comes the coaching. Pete Carroll was supposed to be the steadying force, the veteran presence who brings stability. But how many times can Raider fans watch this team fail to finish? The defense bent, but held Chicago to field goals repeatedly, giving the offense chance after chance to put the game away. Yet the same problems persisted. Execution fell apart, adjustments never came, and when it mattered most, the Bears marched down the field with ease. 11 plays, 69 yards. A rookie quarterback put the dagger into a team that couldn't respond. Meanwhile, Chip Kelly's offense looks like a machine running on outdated software. Where's the creativity? Where's the rhythm? The scheme feels flat, predictable, uninspired. You have Brock Bowers, one of the most dynamic tight end prospects in years, and he's held to 46 yards. You have Ashton Gentry tearing up the field for 138 rushing yards, and the offense still manages just 24 points. That's not maximizing talent. That's wasting it. The defense, as much as they dominated early, can't escape criticism either. For 3 quarters, they were phenomenal, Crosby everywhere. The secondary holding their ground, the Bears rattled. But the mark of a true elite defense is closing the door when it matters. Instead, they folded in the clutch, allowing the game-winning drive that turned a dominant effort into another bitter collapse. So what's the sum of it all? A quarterback sabotaging his own team, special teams exposing themselves with sloppy detail, a defense folding when it mattered most, and coaches failing to make adjustments. The result: a 1-point loss to a team you should have demolished, A 1-2-3 record instead of 2-2-2. A locker room now filled with doubt and frustration, and enough with the excuses. Don't point to injuries or Geno learning the system or bad luck on a blocked kick. Good teams overcome those things. Good teams find ways to win ugly games. The Raiders, they find ways to lose them. That has been their identity for years now. Last season, it was late game collapses and red zone failures. This year, it's turnovers, mental errors, and sloppy detail. Different players, same result. Raider Nation has seen this movie too many times. The ending never changes. Dig deeper into Geno's mistakes, and the pattern gets worse. His first interception was a late throw into coverage, the kind of decision a veteran quarterback has no excuse making. The second was a dagger concept, something drilled in practice all week. Carroll even admitted Geno nailed it in practice. But in the game under pressure, he got baited. Kevin Byard read it, jumped it, and Chicago took over. That's the gap between preparation and execution. That's the difference between a quarterback you trust and one who will cost you games. And then there's the miscommunication. Geno barking at Trey Tucker for missing motions. Linemen confused on assignments. Receivers breaking routes the wrong way. That's not just on Geno. That's a failure of coaching, of preparation, of execution from top to bottom. Add in Dante Thornton, another wasted opportunity, wide open in the red zone, and still no production. If he can't make plays in those moments, why is he even in the game? Even the run-pass balance made no sense. When you're averaging nearly 8 yards per carry as a team, when Gentry is breaking off chunk runs and Raheem Mostert is gashing for 15 yards a pop, why keep putting the ball in Geno's hands? Why not ride the hot hand, bleed the clock, and suffocate the Bears into submission? Instead, Kelly kept dialing up passes, and everyone saw where that led. So where do the Raiders go from here? Do you bench Geno Smith? Fans are already calling for it. Do you turn to Kenny Pickett or hope Cam Miller can inject life into the offense? Maybe, but here's the reality. Financially, the Raiders are tied to Geno for at least this season and next. Unless ownership is willing to swallow the contract, they're stuck. And that's the scariest part. Because every week Geno's under center. The Raiders are wasting the prime years of guys like Max Crosby, Mark Davis, and this front office have to face the truth. How many more Sundays of self-inflicted pain before leadership makes real changes? Pete Carroll looks like a coach past his prime, leaning on schemes that don't work anymore. Chip Kelly was supposed to revolutionize the offense, but all fans see is predictability and wasted talent. And Geno? He was supposed to be a bridge quarterback. Instead, he's turned into the anchor sinking this team. This isn't about one bad game. This is about culture. A culture of failure that has plagued the Raiders for years. A culture where excuses outnumber solutions, where accountability disappears, and where talent gets squandered. Until that culture changes, until someone in leadership says enough, Raider Nation is going to keep reliving the same nightmare over and over again. And the truth is simple. Raider fans deserve better. They deserve a team as passionate as they are, as relentless as they are, and as committed as they are. But right now, all they're getting is heartbreak. So what do you think, Raider Nation? Is Geno Smith finished as the starting quarterback? Is it time for a shakeup in the coaching staff? Or even in the front office? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.